I'm going to tell you guys a story about Christopher Baylor. This dude, Christopher Baylor, was a friend of mine. We grew up a long time ago. Back in elementary school, we went to school together. And he had a couple of sisters. He had a couple of brothers. It was a big family. And actually, his family was in a circus. They literally had their own family circus act, and it was big time. It was I'm not gonna call them out, but it was one of the top 3 major national circus acts in the United States in the 80s. And so anyway, it was like 14 kids, and they used to all come over our house, and we used to play jump rope all the time because we like jump rope. And so, the girls were playing double dutch, the boys were playing the one jump rope, and then we were also messing up the girls' double dutch thing. And then this kid from across the street came, and he had a BB gun, and we were like, whoa, we thought it was a big deal. And then he started shooting the BB gun and playing around, and it ended up hitting the glass at the neighbor's house across the street. And this neighbor across the street, we'd never seen him come out of the house. Well, this time the dude came out of the house, and he looked like the living dead. He was like the crypt keeper. And so he walks over to us, and he says, which one of you guys broke the window? And then everybody points at Chris, because Chris had the BB gun. And so Chris takes off running, and then the old man just watches him run off, and we're all standing there. And then the old man is like, well, I'm going to tell you guys this one thing. And it's like, almost like, your eyes just zoomed into his scary face. He says, if I ever hear any noise over here again, you guys are going to get it. And then we were all scared. He went back in his house, and we all went home that evening. And then the next weekend, the dude died. The ambulance were at his house. The ambulance truck was at his house, and everybody came. And nobody came to visit. After the ambulance, that was it. There was a couple that came. It looked like they were from like maybe a real estate agent or a bank or something. And they put the house up for sale, and then the house sold. And the house sold to this couple. It was actually a white couple that moved in because the neighborhood's starting to change. And so they were all fixing up the house, it was a bungalow house. So they brought it back to its bungalow greatness, and it was looking good. And I met the husband, and he was a cool dude. His name was Oliver. And Oliver was an engineer, and he worked downtown at, I forget which place it was. I think it might have been for the city or something. I don't really remember. And then his wife, Marianne, she was a teacher, I think, like third grade or something, second grade, some little kid teacher. So anyway, I made friends with them over time, and they used to invite me over their house sometimes. But one particular time, he invited me over the house, and Chris was there. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, Chris knows them. But then what happened was, come to find out, Chris wasn't invited by them. Chris told them that I said I was going to meet him over there, and it was cool for him to go. And so I get there, and I'm like, kind of like, they're looking at me, and they're like, they were being cool and everything. I didn't really realize. I thought they had already invited him because they were being all, cordial and cool. And then Chris wasn't really saying nothing. He was just smiling and, agreeing and laughing with everybody. And I didn't find this out until Chris and I had a moment outside in the back. Other people came over during the day. They were having a barbecue. And then as more and more people got into the house and it got more and more full, I was able to, get away from the direct attention of this couple that owned the house. And I was able to go over to the side and talk to Chris. And I was like, Chris, man, what's up? Like, how'd you know them? And he was like, oh, no, I just thought it was cool. You told me you were going over there. And I was thinking to myself, like, I wasn't telling him to go over there. As a matter of fact, I don't even know how he found out. He doesn't live anywhere around here. And these are my neighbors, and this is the strangest thing ever. Like, why is he stalking me? And so I was thinking all this stuff, and then I was like, oh, okay, it must have came across my face, because he was like, why? Or he was guilty because he was like, why? And I was like, well, I didn't know how you would find out about this, or even that they're even over here. And he was like, well, I saw it on Facebook. You said you were going over to the such and such last name, I'm not going to say, house as a couple. And then that's when I realized, okay, this dude's stalking me. So I'm like, okay, he's always been a weirdo. Is he homosexual? Is it that type of stalking, or is it like something else, And so I'm kind of like skeptical and like tripping off of this dude. And so I go back inside and I'm talking to the couple, blah, blah, blah. And then it gets late and I go back home and there are a few people still there, and Chris stays till the wheels falls off. I know I was already asleep and his car was still out there. So that time passes, and then later in that week, I'm going to work in the week, and then, the neighbors, they have, the husband has a truck, and the wife has this little old Rabbit, like a Volkswagen Rabbit it's really fixed up and restored or whatever. Like, she's an artsy. And I think she's like an art teacher. And so anyway, they keep their cars parked in the driveway, usually with hers out last and his in front, so she can get out first. And I noticed that their cars hadn't moved for a while, particularly because the night after they had that barbecue, it was real windy, and we have these big trees all around our block, and they blow leaves everywhere around this time of year, and they get all in the car, and you can tell if the car hasn't moved, it'll have leaves all over it, right? Like it's been parked. So both of their cars were like that, like they'd been parked. And I was like, okay, this is strange. So I text the husband, and he didn't hit me back. And I was like, okay, they must be, they must have went somewhere, and left their cars, and it's none of my business. I'm not in their life like that, but I was just checking because something was odd, But, so this is what I left out. The more odd part was that Chris's car was there, but Chris's car was all the way in the back, like almost in the garage. So I was like, so I thought about that when I saw their two cars. And then I noticed Chris's car was back there. I remember immediately thinking like, okay, he must have left his car there that night. What the hell? That's weird, And then their two cars, more in the driveway areas, was like how they normally would be. But, honestly, I guess I didn't even realize it was Chris's car until after I texted him and I looked again. Because I wouldn't even imagine that, I just knew it was another car back there. I could see the back of it. But there's a tree over there, and that part of the driveway is narrow, so I couldn't really make it out. But yeah, it's his car. So this is where it starts to get weird, if it's not weird enough. Chris comes out of the back door. I can see him in the back door of the house. There's a porch. He comes out the back door, and he has on a white, like basically it looks like a sheet damn near, or like a when you're at the hospital, the back is open, or just like if it was a sheet, like you just put your head and arms through it and it's draping over you. That same look. Well, anyway, and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And so I call out to Chris. I'm like, Chris, and he turns around and looks, and when he turns around, he has a knife in his hand, in his right hand. He's facing me. He turns to his left, he turns towards me, and he's facing me, and there's a knife in his right hand, and there's looks like, I don't know, it was like kind of like blood, but it was almost black. Like if it was blood, it was old. And but it was like, what the fuck is that? Is that shit on his, like, what is that? And then his face was completely white, like tissue paper white. And his eyes were purple black around his eyes. And I looked at him, and he looked just like that old man that used to live there, that where they broke the window with the BB gun when they were little. And he looked at me, and he walked over to me, and he said, "Who is the kid that broke my window?" Oh, and I said, oh boy, my heart hit my stomach. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I cannot believe he just said that. This is crazy. And I tried to gather myself without making any facial expression. And I could tell he was gone, possessed, on something. And I crept back into the house. And when I got around the part of the back of the house where he couldn't see me, I ran to the back door, boom, closed the door, click, locked it, ran straight to my room, got my gun. And I was looking through the window, and he was still standing there in the direction of where I had ran from, basically looking into my window. And I'm like, okay, let me call 911. So I get my cell phone out. I'm watching him. I got my gun. I put my gun down. I dial 911. I put the phone in my ear. I plug it in, my headphones, because I want to have free hands. It rings. 911 was for emergency. I said, there's a guy next door that looks like he killed somebody. He has a knife in his hand. He's wearing an all white sheet, and it looks like there's blood on it. And she says, okay, what's your address? I give her their address. She tells me a little more for the description. I told her a little more about what he looks like and the address and what to expect, a little backstory. She got off, sent to police. Oh man. When the police show up, okay, now between the time that I called and the police showing up, I was looking out the window. And when I was looking out the window, there was a moment where he about-faced and slowly walked back into the house with his head down, like completely sad type of down, like sad, ashamed, or like just sad, And he goes in, and I hear the back door blam, slam, and I can hear the lock clock from from outside because I'm listening. I got the window cracked. I'm right there, and I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, run to the front, and I'm waiting to see the police come. I'm like, what's about to go down? So I was waiting. I waited about, I think it was like about maybe like 6 or 7 minutes, which was a long ass time. And they pull up to the house, and they come out, and none of them have their guns drawn. And 2 of them walk to the door, and then 2 of them are waiting near the cars, 2 cars, 2 and 2. So the 2 walk to the door. One of them steps a little to the side. The other one knocks on the door, the back of a flashlight. I don't know why, because it was daytime. But that's what he did, I guess to make it louder or something. So the door opens up, and it's Chris. And he's dressed in a suit. He's dressed in like almost like a sports coat suit, not without a tie. His hair is like slicked to the side, just like my neighbors. He put his clothes on. He put my neighbor's clothes on. And I'm like, okay, they're about to discover 2 dead bodies in the house. This shit is crazy, and let's see what's about to happen. And so I'm waiting, and the police are in there, the 2. The other 2 are outside. They're starting to talk to each other. It looks like about something else or whatever. And one of the police officers comes running out, grabbing his, like going for his gun. He breaks the door, running, goes for his gun, turns back around, shoots into the house like 6 or 7 times. And the other ones grab their gun, get behind the car. And I like dip back, and then everybody's looking at the front door, and the police officer's body, like not even the whole body, like half of the body part, the top half, including arms, like from mid stomach, including arms and head, is like flung out, like heavy sack of meat and bones flung out the front door down a couple of steps to where the lawn is before you walk into the house. And I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely crazy. I'm on paranoid status. This is accelerating. So like, I gotta tell you, right now, I'm gonna have to cut it short, but I'm gonna continue and pick up because it is time for me to do something else. But I definitely will get back and continue the story. So stay tuned.